Well, good morning, everyone. I just realised when I hit the live button that in the top left-hand corner, up, hang on a minute, what the bloody other way, right there is the Alma Globe 580 logo, because I'm normally doing lives for the Mini Globe race at the moment, which is this one, the MGR, which is another solo around the world race. I do the usual tracker updates every day, and I forgot to change the templates. I should have put a GGR up there, there, instead of the 580, but never mind. Here we are. We got Plastimo there. They're still helping out. They're one of our minor partners for the GGR. And McIntyre Adventure, we're still there. It's the McIntyre Golden Globe race. And I'm going to answer the questions that were put up there. I can see what's going to happen. We're going to get all the 580 people that have got bells on for the tracker update. They'll be thinking, oh, we got another tracker update, and they'll jump on. But this is actually for the Golden Globe race. We put the question box up, and I've got a bunch of questions here that I can answer, and we can get that through. So these were questions put up on Facebook. We're also transmitting on YouTube. So if you're a YouTuber, you won't be there yet. We've got a few people popping up now. I'll still be monitoring the questions on the side here. So when I finish these questions, we will actually get down to the point that if there's any other questions here that are coming up in the comments now while it's live, I can answer them as well. So now I've just got to come down and find the questions. Here we go. I see Pat Lawless liked it, but he shouldn't have any questions. We've got 11 questions, I think, here. And we've got Rachel here as well, and she asked 20 questions, but I'm going to ask the first two. She put it all in one comment, trying to get out of the system. So anyway, just checking on to all the comments now, and we'll get straight into it. So question from Anders. If I'm allowed a second question, he must have asked me another one. Yes, you are. What were the reasons for discarding the Cape Town gate? Was it participants' pressure? Well, we have discarded it, but it's not to say we won't be going to Cape Town. Okay, the original historical recreation of the GGR mimics what happened in 1968, and some people now have forgotten the fact that both Robin Knox Johnson and Joshua Bernard Matessia, they basically had radio issues. Robin started off with a very good radio, but it gave him trouble on the way through. And at one stage, they thought he was possibly gone because they haven't heard from him for so long. He had charging issues. He had a petrol electrical generator, just like a standalone, brrr, away you go. That broke down, and he worked on it for months trying to fix it up. And Bernard Matessia just simply didn't take a radio. Okay, so the only way he could get messages out was to stop in different places and try to wave people over. He went into in the South Atlantic. It's our turn point. I always keep getting it mixed up with Tristan da Cunha, but it's not. A little island there. Went in there trying to get the people. They didn't come, so he kept going. And then he stopped off in Cape Town after he went around the world and decided to retire from the Golden Globe and continue on to Tahiti, and slingshotted his messages onto the deck of a ship. I've got some pictures of that somewhere. And he went into Hobart. Basically, he was down the bottom at the very bottom of the island. He just hung out at the bottom of the behind Bruny Island, waiting for a fishing boat to come out. He waited there for quite some time. A fishing boat came and he handed over letters to take to the yacht squadron there, the yacht club. And then Robin went into Bluff in New Zealand. Couldn't get anything there, so he went up to Dunedin to meet his mate who was coming down to give him letters and all that sort of stuff, which he wasn't allowed to give him. So he sat there reading the letters, okay? And so that's what we're doing. The idea of going to Cape Town was the same thing. It's a film drop, yes, but it's like mimicking passing over the letters. We go into Tasmania, into up the entrance to the Derwent there, and there's a 90-minute stopover they have to have there rather than a few minutes. And it's mimicking that message thing. So it's a real challenge to get to Cape Town, and there's expenses and all sorts of things involved with that. And so we decided to, it's not on the agenda at the moment, but if we get a title partner, like a naming sponsor, If they wanted us to go to Cape Town for a film drop, we would. And if we get a film deal, I suppose we can talk about it now. We just lost a major film deal. We worked on it for a year, but it didn't happen. They got pipped at the post at the very last minute. But if we had that requirement and pressure, we can still bring the entrance back. And Cape Town may be a stopover. So it's a long answer for a short question. But at the moment, we intend to carry on as in the first edition of the race for 2018, our recreation. We didn't stop in Cape Town, so there will be a chance for people to have a crack at John Luke's record, which is kind of interesting. So, but stand by. It could come back on the agenda. Gorse Richards. Would Tapio's speedboat Canopy on Asteria be classified as a hard dodger for the 26 race? No, that's not a hard dodger. That's a companionway cover, okay? So it's quite slick. And there's a few of the entrants now building exactly similar things. Not the same shape. That was pretty slick. But it'll be a hard cover over the companionway, okay? So it's only that wide, a bit longer, and it's not creating windage. Why do we ban hard dodgers now? Basically because I've personally experienced a few entrants in extreme conditions, and I mean survival conditions, which ultimately led to the loss of boats, saying the exact same words, virtually exactly the same. And it goes like this: Don, I'm having trouble holding the stern of the boat to the waves. That's virtually verbatim for 3 different sailors, okay? And that's the windage down the back of the boat. You know, if you've got a catch rig, you've got to get the mizzen off, obviously. You should take the boom off, disconnect it from the gooseneck, wrap it up and get it down low. And if you've not got a big dodger there, then you've got a fighting chance to stop the windage at the back of the boat, outbalancing the windage at the front of the boat, and stop it pulling away. And if you look at, we've now got a new rule which complements that whole issue. No hard dodgers. If you've already got one on a previous boat, we grandfather it, and we call it a vane sail. And it's a triangular piece of sail which goes right, just no shape at all, very small, like a third the size of a storm jib, or less than half the size of a storm jib. And every skipper has to have that. We call it a vane sail, like a wind vane. And it's got to be fitted right up at the bow of the boat. And the idea is that in extreme winds, 60, 70, 80, 90 knots, whatever, it'll blow the bow down. It's like a weathercock, so you're putting windage up the very front of the boat. And it's not for sailing speed. It's just so that when you broach on a wave in the Southern Ocean, you start to round up, the wind is usually coming behind you, and it'll hit that little vane sail and push the bow down. So, 2 things. No hard dodgers anymore. Every boat has to carry a vane sail to put up the front. And that's my word. I've developed the name of the sail, but it's Robin Knox Johnson's idea. He calls it sort of his storm jib. And if you look at Suhaili and the design of the sail wardrobe is on his book, right, you'll see this little triangular sail that he sticks right at the front. It's dead flat, and he sheets it port and starboard hard, right? And it's a vane. It's like a vane just to pull the bow down. So when he's in big storms, he'd be towing warps, okay, and put he calls it his storm jib, but it's tiny, not to go to windward, and the vane sail and blow the bow down. And he survived everything. In 2018, when Abelish was on the replica of Suhaili, beautiful boat, unbelievable story. As you all know, he wasn't towing warps. He didn't have a vane sail, but he didn't have a dodger either, same as Suhaili. But one wonders if he had like the vane sail up the front and towing warps, whether it might not have rounded up and broached and all those sorts of things. But anyway, we require that now after great analysis. So yes, the little hard dodger over the companionway is allowed. A few are doing it. It's a really good idea. And that's only a canopy cover, a companionway cover. Rachel, there are more than 2 questions here. Okay, 1 comment with about 20 questions. So I'll answer the first 2. What are the prerequisites for entering the GGR? The prerequisites, first of all, sailing-wise, you've got to tick a few boxes. You've got to have a minimum of 8,000 ocean sailing miles, and that can be as a crew member or a skipper or a watch leader or something in a fully crewed boat. You also have to have at least 2,000 solo ocean miles, okay? And then you have to do a 4,000 solo qualifier non-stop in your GGR boat, in GGR format, using just a wind vane, and you've got to do some celestial sights on the way to prove that you can navigate. Now, you're still able to use any electronics you want. You can have wind instruments on the mast. You can have Starlink on board. You can have GPS chart plotters, all that sort of stuff. But you just got to show you can prove and sail with your GPS with your wind vane and celestial navigation. Okay, you're not allowed to use electric autopilots on the 4,000 mile qualifier. Once you've done that, then you've got to do your medical training. You've got to have medical care, which is much more advanced than basic first aid. You've got to do your survival course, which is a 2-day course if you're not doing ST795, on life rafts and flares and GMDSS and EPIRBs, all that sort of stuff. And then you've got to have a medical examination, quite a comprehensive medical test, dental check, and that's about it. Then for the boat, well, there's a whole series of boat requirements as well. It's got to be 36 feet, 32, 36, minimum displacement 6,200, rudder on the trailing edge of the keel, full keel boat, designed before 1988, and a female moulded production boat, fiberglass. So that's the first one. What route did the GGR take? Well, there was a map that I put up just before. It's non-stop round the world, Le Sable d'Olonne to Le Sable d'Olonne, around all three of the Great Capes, Cape of Good Hope, Cape Lewin, and Cape Horn. And you're going east about, so down and around the bottom. So that's it. I'll give you one more. Are they allowed to do or have any stopovers? No, it's non-stop. If they do not have any stopovers, how do they take provisions? They just got to take a lot of food, a lot of water, catch rain, and so on. Although interesting, a friend of mine, I won't mention his name because he's thinking about the GGR, and he's looking at an Endurance 35. It carries 750 litres of water. Jeepers. Endurance 35 is actually a big boat, but that's more than enough to go around the world, for 200 days. Jeepers, you could have a shower every day. They have vitamin C tablets on board. Knowing that the MGR are only allowed 7 sails for the whole voyage, GGR have similar restrictions. Yes, there's 9 sails. If you've got a sloop rig, or one mast, I should say, so one mast, you're allowed 9 sails. If you've got a ketch, you're allowed 11 sails. I think that's right, yeah. And long voyages, how they keep themselves from getting extremely lonely. They don't. Some of them get extremely lonely. Some of them get psychologically challenged. A few, quite often, it's fair enough to say they get emotionally challenged. And it is an ugly race. It's grueling. It's one of the most brutal games on the planet. And they're all volunteers, and so we call it a game and a massive challenge, a huge adventure. And you've got to be a pretty reasonable sailor, know what you're doing. It's the longest and slowest. We call it that. Hang on, what do you say? What has been the fastest and shortest? That'd be the Jules Verne Trophy. It's the quickest way around the world on anything that sails, and it's usually a big multi-hull. There's a bunch of girls about to set off, and it's called the Famous Challenge, I think it is. The girls on a big try. They're about to do it next year, I think. Going to try and beat and shorten the Jules Verne time, which I think is about, I forget now, 40 days or less. Really fast. So that's fast. We're just slow. Which ports that's about it. Anyway. Okay, so that's enough for that one, Rachel. Thank you. Rachel's one of our big fans. She bombs the MGR and the GGR coming up, so it's going to be interesting. But good on you. She loves it all. Simona, I heard that you need to have sailed 4,000 miles instead of 2,000 in this edition of the GGR. Are there any other big changes in the rules, and what made you change these rules? Thank you. Part of it's Captain Coconut. Captain Coconut retired from the 22 edition of the GGR, and he always intended to retire. When he joined the racing, and that confused a lot of people. He said on a live, he said, "Oh well, I was going to stop anyway and go to the Chichester class and go and leave my boat and go back and see my son's wedding and stuff, and then come back and get on the boat and carry on." Well, that's not quite kosher. And then also we had a situation where the GGR is a huge race of attrition, right? And I get it more than many, more so than many followers. There's only ever been 9 finishes in 3 editions of the race. We've lost 9 boats, I think it is. That's what other people are saying. I've never counted them. And there's been 45 or 46 entrants that have tried. It is extremely difficult to get to the finish. Okay, and so we want to make sure the boats are and skippers are as well prepared as possible. But at the same time, we don't want to count out people with dreams, and it's a balancing act. And my final guideline, and there's all these boxes that people got to tick to get to the start line and be ready to go. And until they've done all that and get their green card, and it's not uncommon for hardened sailors to be up there, and when we give them the green card, they'll break down emotionally. They'll be in tears. And they haven't even started the race because the pressure is intense, right? But even ticking all the boxes, we've been criticised as an organiser on a few occasions with some sailors that we let continue in the race because they believe that they're hopeless. They got no experience and all this sort of stuff. Well, that's not the name of the game. If they tick the boxes, they've got what I call enough experience to go. But someone could come along and tick the boxes and be a hopeless sailor, and I would take them to be unsafe. If I perceive them to be unsafe, even though they've ticked all the boxes, I say, sorry, we're not letting you go, right? And so some people thought 2,000 miles was a little bit too short. So I thought there's nothing wrong with that either, extending the qualification to 4,000 miles. And it stops the compression at the end because some people only join at the very end and they've got a mad rush to get their boats refitted and then get out there and blah, blah, blah. And it's not uncommon for some sailors to have no solo sailing experience. You don't have to be, I always call it, I get it myself, some of my adventures, people will say how can you do that? You've never done it before. And that line is so stupid because if you're not allowed to do it because you've never done it before, how are you ever going to get to do it? Right? So it's all a big mix and a big mishmash, and nothing wrong with 4,000 miles to qualify. It makes them that much more prepared. They've got to be that much more prepared ahead of time. And so hopefully there'll be less dropouts than previously, and we'll see some more finishes. It's only a little thing, but that's the long answer to a short question. So thanks for that. So yes, now it's 4,000. In terms of other major things, there's no other, we're not allowing hard dodges anymore. That came as a result of the 22 edition of the race. And also considering, because we had some, in 2018, we experienced that, but I didn't worry about it. And then in 2022, we experienced some similar stuff and thought, bugger that. No more hard dodges, too complicated. We did pretty well. We changed a few things in the 22 edition after 2018, and now for 2022 going on to 26, there's not a whole heap of things. One of them is they've got to have an iPhone or sort of iPhone on the boat, and that'll be sealed so that if someone's in trouble, we can link the AIS transponder that the entrants can't see on their boat to the iPhone, so then they can see. Because if someone's in a life raft, they should have their PAB. The PAB is the personal AIS beacon, and everyone gets that mixed up. Different from a PLB, which is your personal locator beacon, which is 406 distress beacon. So with the PAB in the life raft, the visibility for the sailor in one of our boats, if they've got to pick up a life raft, which we learnt from Tapio, it's hard to see. Tapio had his PAB, but of course Kirsten couldn't read her transponder. So now they can break it open, use their phone, and they can hone in on that PAB. Sorry. Anyway, and we've got a conference coming up in a couple of weeks, and we're discussing some issues of safety equipment again. And I'm on the edge of possibly insisting that our life rafts should have a PAB fitted inside the raft. We have a PLB in the raft because there's always a situation. In fact, we have a few things that are quite unique in our rafts. They've got to have a VHF handheld with GPS built in, right, as well as a PLB, because I know from experience, not my personal, but over the last 40, 50 years of sailing, seeing everything that's happened, it's not uncommon to have to jump into your life raft and you have nothing else, right? You have just you and your life raft. All your panic bags gone, your communications are gone. It's only what's in the raft, okay? And a PAB can be very handy to have inside the raft. They might not get the one they have in their existing kit. So that's a discussion as well. So a few things happening there. Anyway, another long answer. Anyway, it's the weekend, so what? Okay, Anders, whatever happened to the Joshua One Design class? I stuck the boat in there in the pictures at the front. Were ships built? Might they still participate? Well, the first thing is we've scrapped the whole idea of the Joshua One Design idea. It's funny how fate lends a hand. It never took off, and I'll explain that in a minute. But the reality is, in hindsight, after everything we went through, it wasn't a good idea, and it was borderline at the beginning to confuse the class. The GGR stands alone in the world of sailing. There is nothing like it. It'll never change. What we've got now is what you get. It's AI proof, right? It's real. It's genuine. It's as tough as it'll ever get. And there's no other event that compares. Nothing at all. Nothing wrong with the Global Solo Challenge, but it's not the GGR. They got all the comms and Starlink, this, that, and the other, which changes everything. It's not the Vendée Globe. I mean, well, that's pretty obvious. And that's where we live. That's our space, and it's not for everyone. There's only a tiny amount of sailors that want to do it, but it's totally unique. And so I'm glad we didn't twist with the concept in the end. So I built a boat, and there's a picture of it in there as well. We ran out of money in 2018 to get it done. We wanted it at the beginning of the race to show people ready for 22. The reason we ran out of money is I couldn't allocate a budget. My life works on budgets. I have budget allocations for each of the projects, and that budget didn't appear because I had to put in a lot of money into the GGR, the first one, because we had no sponsors. And so we sold houses and did all sorts of things to make the GGR happen. And so I couldn't finish the boat. So it sat in the boatyard for a couple of years, and I kept paying rent and pay the money, this, that, and the other. And then finally, we were in a position many years later. In fact, it was in 2021. I finally had a budget to finish it off. And I thought, cool, we can finish it off and have it at the start of 22. The boat builder stole the boat. He told us that he took it and scrapped it because it got rusty. Had an engine and everything was in it and blah, blah, blah. Just cut it up, took it to the scrapyard. We know he lied. Anyway, it's a long story. The only thing I could have done was take legal action, and I was just about to set off across the Atlantic in my little trekker, and so we didn't go there. Anyway, but I may still. We'll see. We know someone's got it. But anyway, so that was the only one I built, and we had a few people wanted to buy them, but I wouldn't sell one until we built the first one. We need to get people on it and go. Beautiful boat. It's there. We've still got all the cutting files, and we may had someone talking about it just recently because you could build a brand new Joshua. We've got everything there. Anyway, long story. Okay, that's the long story for the short question. So yeah, I regularly have people that own current Joshuas and Meta Joshuas and all that stuff. So I've got a beautiful boat. Can I come into the GGR? And I say, no, sorry, it's all over. Not going to happen. Okay, Oscar. This is an interesting question. Many of us Swedes are wondering why there have been no boats of the model Allegro 33 in the GGR. I've got to say, there's some fantastic boats up in the Baltic countries. They build great boats. While some would argue, they're arguing that it's in the inferior OE32. In other words, we've got a bunch of OE32s coming in the GGR, and he's suggesting that it's not as good a boat as the Allegra 33, which is a very nice boat. That's the reality. Both are models manufactured in Sweden to comply with Swedish Kosterbatt tradition. Is there a specific reason? Thanks in advance for the answer. There's a very specific reason, and it's an interesting story. As you know, we have a very strict criteria for the boats. It's got to be within 32 to 36 feet long, a full keel, rudder on the trailing edge of the keel, and designed before 88, female production boat, and so on. Minimum displacement at 6,200 kilos. Now, it gets crazy because with the Allegra 32, the official displacement is 5,500 kilo. Okay, that's the official displacement. And you can see, I saw one, since this question, I jumped on just to check it again. There was one boat for sale, and it was given 3 different displacements in the advert. One said 6,500, which I think was a typo. Another one said 6,200, and another one said 5,600. Right, all in the same ad for displacement. So we use sailboat data as the key. I think most people know what that is. You put it, you go any boat design like Endurance 35 sailboat data, and it'll go you to the website, and every boat that's ever been built basically has got all the statistics there, and we use that as the baseline. Now, when you look at the official displacement of an OE32, it comes up at now I forget 6,000 kilos or something, and it's a couple of hundred under the 6,200, or maybe it's 5,800 or something. I think it's 5,800. And what happened was the first one we had in was R. Vig from up north, really great guy. He had the first OE32, shocked everyone. It was a super fast boat. Came down underneath Cape Town. The monitor wind vane broke the coupling, and he was sort of hove to, sort of in 35 knots wind, 3 metre seas. The boat got rolled over, dismasted, and so on. How did he get his 32 in? Because the official displacement was only set at 5,800. He showed us in the original design. He got the original design specs and said, here's from the builder, the original specification and the builder of the boat, plus the designer, and they were all coming out much heavier, and they were coming out at about 5,300, 5,000, 6,300, 6,500, all this sort of stuff. They were heavier. So he gave us a case to show that it was a very real expectation that every boat that was ever built never made that displacement. No one's ever done that for a Allegra 33. And so I had one guy come up, and I think there was someone, I think it was for the 22 edition, said Allegra 33. And I said, well, look, the displacement's showing here at 5,600, I think it was. They said it's too small. Displacement we use as a volumetric size for the boat, and the reason we don't want lighter boats is because they can't carry the weight of all the supplies safely. Okay, it just bogs them down, and a heavy boat's not good in the Southern Ocean, too heavy. So that's the reality. Basically, no one's come to us and showed us any proof to suggest that displacement is actually anything more than, I think it's 5,600 kilos, so it's too small. And if someone wanted to do that, well, they can put up an argument and we'll have a look at it. But so far, no one's ever done that. So that's that one. J63. Oh, shit. Shivers, I mean. It's French. Here we go. This is interesting. Where can I find the registration rules? I intend to take a long run in 2027, so why not the GGR? Why not indeed? So it'd be good to see you in the race. So, okay. So basically, if you just go to goldenglobe.race.com, excuse me, goldenglobe.race.com, you can actually get everything you need. You can download the notice of race. It tells you all the details and answer every question you need. And we'd love to see you in the GGR. There's still time if you've got the right boat and you've done the sea miles. The picture looks as if you've got the sea miles. You've got a beard worse than mine. So hopefully we can have a chat. You can send me an email as well, just don@mcintyreadventure.com, or that's my personal one, or don@goldenglobe.race. No, not .com. Yeah, it is. That's right. Yeah, that's my email address. Okay. Okay. Now, this is an MGR question. Nathan, why is Canadan this is from MGR, but I'll answer it here because the guy's probably looking, is no longer showing on the YB tracker. The other boats have all retired from the MGR, are greyed out and shown as retired. He, on the video archive, both deserves the same status. He's absolutely there. Dan's never been removed from anything. He's on all the videos, all that sort of stuff everywhere. And the reason he's not on the tracker at the moment, because he simply didn't start on leg 3, right, of the race, which was currently from Fiji all the way to Cape Town. And secondly, the boat stopped, so there's no more tracking. The boat is, if you look on the tracker for leg 2, you can go right in, and he's on the hard at Vuda Marina in Fiji, so he's still on the tracker. John and his father Mike, they've run out of credits. They've got to pay to keep on the tracker, so he's still there. Nothing's changed. The the boat's in Fiji. Just zoom down, there he is. And all the boats are all on the historical records for all of the YB tracking and so on. So, yeah, it was a sad story with Dan. He had to retire for health reasons, but there you go. Okay, so that's it there. But I might have some more questions here. So, and I'll just come back here and just show you the pictures before I get into those questions, because you're talking about the boat. That's the course for those that, Rachel, you wanted to know the course of the race and so on. The logo, Robin. That was hard to believe. It was about 55 years ago. Robin's 86 now, still sailing strong. Just went up north in the Arctic, and he's an amazing guy. This is Guido. He's got a Vancouver 34. He's a professional photographer, and it shows. He makes great photos. That's our Joshua that was built, but strangely disappeared. There you go. And that's it there. If anyone wants to build a Joshua, not for the GGR, we've got all the cutting files, and it's a beautiful design, that one. Long story. That's the pontoon at Les Sables d'Olonne. So we'll all be there. We've got an entrance conference coming up on the 20th and 21st of this month. No, 21st, 22nd. And the press conference on the Saturday. So there'll be a live coming from the press conference on that Saturday morning. We've got 16 entrants coming. The rest are attending by Zoom. There's Elliot. That was a huge story, but he didn't quite get to us for the give us his extra footage for his story, which we put up. And Rob's been pretty busy. I'm not sure whether we're getting one today or not, but we try to get one up every Saturday. So that's that. Oop, we want to go here. Okay, so I'll just have a quick look here and see if we've got any comments, and then we're out of here. G'day, Gary. Are quartz watches allowed? No, it's only wind-up. So I did a post about watches. It's got to be mechanical watch. We don't allow any electric clocks, nothing at all, because no one was using that in the 68 race. It was all mechanical stuff. And I did a post about what's the best value of mechanical watches. Both Robin and Bernard Matessia had Rolexes, which is a story. I got a Ralph Tech. I've got a few Ralph Techs for partner ones. And Robin's Rolex is in the Rolex Museum. It's the first sailing non-stop around the world, like the guys that went into space. And he was swapped that for a solid gold one. I don't know what happened to. Bernard Matessia's is actually. I did hear the story about that. It might be in the museum in La Rochelle. I forget now. His sextant is, and compass and all that sort of stuff. Anyway. Okay, Ray. Fantastic race between the middle group of the 580 fleet. Yeah, see, I told you all the 580 people are going to be here. Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. I'm very proud of the whole fleet. 21,000 miles from Portugal and still going strong in 19-foot plywood home-built boats. Ooh, japers. So it's pretty cool. Adrian, buddy, you got me all excited about MGR. Good. I'm happy about that, Adrian. It's good to be excited in life. Christine, g'day. Good afternoon. Racing to Royal New Yacht Club to welcome Peeler and Jasmine's arrival just now. Cool. Give us the pictures, Christine. Thanks. You'll be disappointed you can't follow the GGR because they don't stop anywhere. Christine's following the whole course of the GGR. She's a fan. And everywhere they stop, she turns up. She's been going around the world, every stopover. Quite crazy. Graham, hi, Don from Scotland. I visited Durban in the 80s, and the yacht club's stunning. Durban is a fantastic place. Beaches and shops, yep, for sure. G'day, Ben. Hi from France. Yeah, it's all the 580 people here. Why is Cape Town no longer Photogate? I think we've answered that one. Hi, suggestion for them to decide to go to Cape Town direct. If the window is already set, should let them go and make it all depend on the time with the best 24-hour rides. I'm not sure about that. No, they got to go around the little island. Jeepers, I keep forgetting it now. Trinidad. There it is. I've got a map on the wall here. Trinidad, they've got to leave that to port. We looked at that in the first race, which another reason it'll be hard to beat John Luke's time, but although he slowed down because of the mast problems, so he possibly could, is because it's a trade wind route, and it's softer on the boats and more sensible on the skippers and stuff like that. And basically, everyone pretty much went that way in '68 as well. So, yeah, certainly the entrance not all of them, but a proportion of them would prefer not to go to Cape Town because it's going through the South Atlantic High is a challenge, for sure. You got to work out where it is. Anyway, Alec here from Peru. Good organisation with all done. Thanks a lot for that. Okay, that's it. So thanks for that. And there's not a lot of questions here. When the race is on, we get truckloads. So we'll probably do it again in a few weeks when I think people have got something to ask. In the meantime, thanks. And if you're a GGR person, you haven't seen the MGR, this was leg 3. Okay, see you later.